Welcome to the podcast, Entrepreneurs Share Secrets with Sandra Mausman. And today I have a guest, Matt Crowe. Welcome.
Hi.
What do you do? What's your business is?
A few things right now. So I was a founder of an internet company before, and now I'm an angel investor and a CEO coach and advisor to early stage startups, primarily. Like a few are platforms and e-commerce and AI, and help other entrepreneurs with a lot of the mistakes I made and help them grow, and everything a founder and CEO would need.
I like it.
Like an older brother.
So your first is an internet company? Yes, you started?
Before that, actually, years before, I started a landscaping company that I sold when I was really young.
Interesting.
Like age 20. But then like my late 20s, I moved to California and I started a tech company.
So what's your education? How you started to build the companies? Why you didn't start to work for somebody else?
Stupidity. I don't know. I had this company in high school. It's all I knew was like entrepreneurship, and I got offered a free ride to university, and I turned it down because I was like, well, I'm making this much money each year on my company, and if I go to school, it's going to cost me money. And I was like, in hindsight, maybe I should have done it because I would have gotten an undergrad and like to get into business schools that I had applied to, most of them require it just as like a checkbox. Even Stanford, they tried to get it to use my work experience because I already had millions of dollars of building companies. And they're like, no, it's just a procedural, thing. So I did get accepted into Oxford. And I was thinking about going there, but then I didn't. But yeah.
Why you decided to go to university? Like why? What's a point of your life where you thought maybe education will help you?
It was only like one kind of time. It was like maybe 25 through 27 or something. And I had already made a bunch of money and was kind of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I'm like, well, if I went to B school, basically I was thinking, well, then I could be in the club because like all the business school people, they kind of run in like these circles, especially in tech and things. And because I had given talks already to business school classes, and like some people I knew were adjunct professors already of that stuff. And I'm like, I could teach this shit versus why would I be doing it? And but then after that, I realized there would be no value for me because I already have like the applied in real life experience, which most people never have.
So do you think right now the young people or people who would like to start the business, should they go to the MBA? Get the MBA?
I'm not a fan of school. I'm just going to put that out there. I think it's a complete and utter waste of time, unless you're going to be a doctor, or a lawyer or something regulated and very specific. Nothing is better proof than like real world experience and like showing, hey, I did this or I designed this or I can do that. So I'm not a big fan. I think it's one of the biggest scams in the entire US is the education system, which is not me just saying that. There's lots of theories and research around that too, of it being a complete, utter waste of time and money. That people get stuck with for years and years and years, repaying this nonsense that got them zero value and was kind of like that getting into Stanford thing. It's just like a checkbox. Even like there was a time when I applied to McKinsey to be a consultant there, which is like a big, top 10 consulting firm like Deloitte or McKinsey. Same thing. They like require an undergrad. You can't even apply. It's not even an option to like, without that. And so that's my take.
So maybe right now it's changing. Do you think it's still? I think people right now recognize that education like life experience is better than education, and maybe so many companies doesn't require education now, or you don't know this fact, or like
I think a lot of companies care a lot less. Maybe big companies, but any of the really innovative companies, they don't give a shit anymore either. Just like, show me what you've done or what you can do, you know? And I'm not, to be clear, I don't think education in general is a bad thing, like self-education, you know, because that doesn't mean, for example, you can learn a lot of things about AI, taking an AI course or joining a community online of some kind, like on school or some coaching program or something like that, to learn about AI that you could get done in a couple weeks that maybe some bullshit educational company is going to try to charge a lot of money and take you through over a year or 2 years or something like that. So
yeah,
I think like self or learning knowledge on your own is what's most valuable.
But sometimes when I talk with for example, business coaches who never had the business and they teach how do the business, and they never had even MBAs, they never had a successful business, and they teach how to do the business. What do you think about it when they like, I just can do AI, I can just Google it how to do it?
I mean, do you see me smiling because I'm kind of laughing on the inside about I find it really funny when there's like I call them coachy coaches.
Yes.
You know, people that have never actually done anything and they're like a coach, even if they got some certification, like, oh, I'm a coach certified, you know, blah, blah, blah. But they've never done anything, you know? And in my specific example, that's what makes me powerful as when I coach people, because I've built multi-billion-dollar companies and failed with them too. So I have experienced the ups and downs of hiring and firing and good things and bad things and everything else that comes within that. So like that real world applied knowledge is for like oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes I work with first time founders. So like the first time they've have a tech company or raising money or building a team or building a product or these kinds of things. I've shifted a little bit from that, but for the last few years, it was mostly first-time founders. And yeah, like you said, big brother. It's like I already been there. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I always I call them like the coachy coaches.
Yes,
you know? There's so many of these like life coaches, people that have done fuck all with their life. Excuse my French, but they just like haven't really done anything, and they're giving advice, which good on them for doing that, but they're not for me.
Definitely. So your first business was landscaping. For how long you had it, and like why you sold it?
Yeah. I'm going to say it was almost 6 years. I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like a hard worker, and I had a bunch of equipment that I bought and people working for me, and I was doing bigger and bigger projects as it continued to grow. And I didn't have I was just a kid. I didn't know I could go to the bank and just get a loan for like a large project. I had no idea that was even an option, or using software for things, or I was learning by failing, and that was very stressful. And I was young, but I like to do good work, and people liked me, because I did what I said and said what I would do. And that started out literally as me with just one lawnmower, literally. It turned into a large company with landscaping and property maintenance and snow removal. Very, very different than what I do now. Like, I've lived a few different lives, but when I look back, it's a little nostalgic because that's where I got started.
Let's come back to the past, get some nostalgic. So if somebody would like to start the landscaping company, maybe you can give some 3 mistakes or 3 lessons, what you learned, how to be successful.
I don't think it's applicable to just landscaping. I think it's any company. It doesn't matter. Like this was 20 years ago when I did it, when I had that, so a lot of things have changed between then and now, like with tech as an example, just the world and society. But I think people really get bogged down with trying to make things perfect, versus just move, even if it's in the smallest little incremental step forward. Because sometimes when you make that one little move, then it opens up a whole bunch of other stuff that then you can get moving. And people really get stuck around like perfectionism, including myself. It's something I've had to learn to overcome. But for sure, that is something. And I use a bunch of tools even to do that, like FocusMate as an example, which is like a co-working thing online that helps to break apart larger things that, like our ADHD mind or like perfectionistic mind kind of get stuck on, versus just like, I'm going to do this within the next 50 minutes. It's like one little, a micro task instead of like the macro task, that's been something really helpful for me. Okay, 3 things. That was one thing. A second thing would be just do it. Like the Nike slogan, it's there for a reason, really. It's like, we're not here forever on this planet, whatever this life experience means, And so, actually, Steve Jobs said something like in a graduation commencement speech once about the founder of Apple. He had this thing about live life today like you're going to die tomorrow. Like really, because we don't know. And so would you rather die knowing you played full out, right? And at least tried like fully versus like kind of dabble in this thing and maybe I'll safe way and like I'll try this, which there's a time and a place for all that also, but I think just doing it is a really for first time entrepreneurs especially, or people that have like had road bumps, like failures too, because sometimes that was part of my journey too. Is really hard to get back up. When you have a down, it's just like a grieving process, like losing a child. A lot of time people will analogize their company like their baby, because really it's your business and you mold it and shape it and decide what it's going to eat and whatever else, and so you have this like emotional connection to it. And then the third thing would be really, I think people go after money too much, which is also, one of my mistakes that I made in life is chasing success, versus what our heart really wants, like what our vision for ourselves really is, which I have learned is not money, that I still like nice things. We all like nice things. Money makes the world go around, but like there are far more meaningful things in life. And if we focus our idea or our company on a vision that we have versus I want to make a shit ton of money or I want to do this so that I can do this, what about just doing that instead now in some small way? And usually that's where the best businesses come from, because it's something that people are very passionate about, because it takes that, like, I know, I'm sure that everything is a lot of work and you're thinking about it, a lot. And if you're not passionate about it, like, why? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the jobs that are sucking the life out of people all day, every day, or the passionless business owners that are just doing it because they're doing it versus like, man, we only have a really short amount of time here, really. And if you're not happy doing that, it's like sleeping in your bed, sleeping in an uncomfortable bed. Can you imagine? Right? It's like a third of our life. Imagine your bed sucks. And it's like hard and it's lumpy, but you're like, oh, it's okay. I'm just going to bear this out for a while because at least it's a bed,
But so many people do it. So many people just take this. I learned the easy way. Just like maybe takes up employment, don't think about it, and just lives somehow his life, pays the bills, takes the credit card, debts and everything.
There's a time and a place for that though too. That's like you could be doing that while you're working on your vision work, like having a job that is not your vision. But the problem, or that I've found at least, and I've seen in others, is that if you have a job, it takes all of your best energy, and then your passion project just gets the crumbs of that. Versus if you can architect it the other way around, so your passion thing is getting the best of your energy and your job is getting enough to be employed and have a whatever paycheck and career you need, but able to give your best energy at what you're most passionate about.
Yeah. I see. Okay. What about your tech company? How you got into tech?
I had an idea for something. I had no idea about tech at all in general. This is 2010, 2011, I started the company. And I moved to San Francisco at the end of 2010. And it was just an idea of ideas. It was a crowdsourcing platform that allowed people to submit their ideas to it, and the community would vote and comment and collaborate around them, and the best ones would be brought to life. And I ran it for almost 7 years, and it was a really incredible experience. I learned a lot of what to do and what not to do, and that's where I would say I cut my teeth in tech, and now obviously I have a much better handle on those things. But at the time, it was a ride. I'll just say that. It was a ride for sure.
What's the idea was, if you can share?
I'm sorry?
What's a tech company idea? What exactly you did? What the technology was about?
Have you ever had any ideas?
Yes, I did have it. Yes, a lot of ideas.
So we would let people submit those ideas to the site, and then
I understand. This is a website what you created? This is your idea to this crowdsourcing.
Crowdsourcing.
Yeah, this is your website.
This is before Kickstarter, which is crowdfunding. Now, I was a little bit before them, like a year and a half before that started to come out. So this is a whole today it would be considered user-generated content, or collective intelligence is really what it was. But at the time, it was not. It was never done. So this whole crowdsourcing thing was a big space. The way that maybe AI is not so big, but it was big in a vast landscape of nobody had touched it yet. And there was lots of people trying different things like crowdfunding or crowd employment or all sorts of different verticals within there. I was kind of up on top doing a lot of those things within the same product. And open innovation is another category where big companies, at the end, that's what I was doing more of also, where bigger companies would want to use the technology to collect ideas from their employees and or customers. So Starbucks would have a thing. It would let people submit their ideas for their local Starbucks, like you in California. I want a better cherry latte or something like that. And if enough people would vote and comment around it, it would be brought to life. So there's lots of companies that still do these open innovation campaigns today.
I see. So what was the biggest mistakes again for this tech company? What you didn't expect to have?
Everything. Man, it's such a brutal question to ask.
How big your team was? Did you learn how to code or?
No, I'm not a technical founder. I mean, I can work with engineers and talk with them, and was considered a product owner, so I can, know what languages to build things with and who to parse it out to things, but I'm not actually in there coding.
Did you have some good coders? Did you find the good coders?
Yeah. I mean, it fluctuated over the years of how many people. Started with just a couple. I think at its peak, maybe there was about 25 or something like that, roughly. And, but it would kind of scale up and down as I was, moving over the years with it. But I would definitely, which is what I do now, is just really product focused. I mean, and this is in tech specifically, right? And actually, really any company. But I was kind of more focused on the brand and, like what it was that we were building versus building a product that people love so much that you don't even need to market it at all. That's really kind of it's lean startup methodology now. Again, this wasn't like around at that time, but basically just if you build something that people absolutely love, you don't have to even spend a dime on marketing or advertising because people will be like, wow, Sandra does this amazing thing and you have to use this thing and it'll speak for itself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how it was when you created this crowdfunding website? Did it spoke itself? Did people wanted to join and they saw this idea of how beneficial it could be?
Yes. I was always like, my competitors had raised a lot of money. I raised some money from investors, but not like my closest competitor. They raised $175 million. So they had so much cash that they could have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people and make lots and lots and lots of mistakes, which they did. And they ultimately ended up going bankrupt. And I was one of the people looking at buying them at the time when that had happened also, just because I thought maybe there were some assets, which there weren't, and it was mostly useless. But I think it's just a testament of like, you can have a ton of money and not always have the best, product and idea. And product centric for sure would be something. And I have this analogy of being the turtle. I don't know if it do you remember the cartoon, the tortoise and the hare, the turtle and the rabbit?
Maybe. I'm from Latvia. I don't know American movies.
This is like famous American cartoon, the tortoise and hare. But it's like a rabbit and a turtle, the rabbit's always running really fast.
Yes.
And he like falls off the edge and dies or whatever. And the turtle is always moving really slow. And the rabbit's like making fun of the turtle all the time. They're like, haha, you're moving so slow. Yeah. But the turtle, he always wins the race, And I was admittedly kind of more in this, like, let's move really fast, all the time and that kind of thing, versus just slow and steady and consistency over time will always win. And that's something I really learned, even in tech, because tech's moving really fast. And like in AI, as an example, right now, is moving very, very fast. But having like a really steady, consistent hand of like the turtle just over time would be probably one of the best pieces of business advice that I have learned the hard way and that I apply to myself and other companies I work with now.
If somebody wants to create a new technology, some new idea, what never was there, how do you market it? Or it just depends on what technology you create? Because people don't want to try want to try new things. Or
some people do. Some people love trying new things. There's a whole adoption bell curve thing where there's certain kinds of people that love trying new things, and then other kinds of people that hate trying new things. And then there's like a certain group that are kind of in the middle, like the top of the bell curve. But how would they market it? I mean, usually the best products come from somebody that has had a problem themselves, and then they create a solution to that problem. So that allows them to market it. It's like, hey, I didn't have internet. I went to a co-working space one day. I was like, this sucks. Why don't I start this co-working at my house instead? Something like that, right? Like somebody that has a problem and they create a solution for themselves to the problem. And then because that customer there end up being lots of other people in the world that want that same thing as well.
So what's for your crowdfunding? You also had the difficulty, or you saw what people have difficulty crowdsourcing. Yeah. Was difficulty to raise the money for I think it's a big issue right now to raise the money for some ideas.
I mean, yes. However, and not all ideas take money, or even a lot of money. Especially now in tech, like you can build a site or a product with nothing, $50, $100, Like you don't, there's this myth and kind of romanticized maybe in movies and things of, oh, go out and get money from investors and, have these big VCs and famous people win your company and everything's going to be great. But that's not the case, really, and the best way to do it is just to have something that doesn't need money, and you make money from your revenue. And then if you need money, you can go get it from a bank or a private equity firm or somebody that you're getting debt instead of equity, which is investment in the company. You're just getting a loan. And now you still retain all your ownership and you call the shots, right? So it's there are some instances where it's not possible to do that. And that's why investors exist. But the ability to make something new, like a new company, or even, let's just say, not even a tech product. Let's just say a business. Let's say a landscaping company, because we already talked about that, right? Somebody wants to create a new landscaping company, right? Yeah. Literally, all they need to do, Instagram page, maybe a landing page, one-page website, and some ads localized to your geographic area, and some posts, and you could be generating, clients from that. So things are just much simpler now than they were before. There's still all the reality stuff around the legal entity and all these other things. But as far as like testing something, like, hey, I think there's a market here. Is there a market? Will somebody respond to my ad to build retaining walls or to mow my yard or whatever it is, as an example of like a tangible business, even one that doesn't necessarily need like a lot of capital to build a whole new thing. And I just feel like it's gotten really easier than it was years ago to start something. Yeah. And even with AI, you can just plug in, hey, I want to start a landscaping company in my wherever I live in Southern California. Okay, well, who are my 50 competitors within a 14-mile radius? Boom. What are their websites? Okay, now I can see what are they charging? It's like the access to information is so immediately available now.
And you are angel investor, yes?
Correct, yeah.
So how you told that, okay, so if there's some kind of idea or person have idea and he approach you and you really like this idea, but that you can invest, but you understand what it's better for him to go into the bank and get the money than to invest with you and give you the equity. Do you say sometimes no to the person and say that like you should go better to the bank because it will be in your best interest to go to the bank?
Yeah, always.
You don't want to like get like, this is a very good idea, I want to get a percentage.
I'd rather not. I mean, I'm what would be considered a founder friendly angel, which just means like I'm a founder, so I'm going to tell the founder what a founder friend would tell them also, of like, you should do this, and there are lots of different kinds of investors, big, giant funds and little tiny people putting in $5 and $50 or $200 and everything in between. But I am very, very, very selective, and I only want to work on things that I'm part of in some capacity. Also, like there are passive, just financial investors, and there are more hands-on, like I like to help the founder with founder things. That could be work-life balance, could be mental health things, it could be problems, legal issues, could be, fundraising stuff, it could be patent stuff, like things that they can't talk with other people about. That's what I want to be in there for. It's like a CEO coach, like that's really my job, is tell me the shit that you don't want to tell anybody else, and then let me help you, navigate through that stuff, because there's always that stuff.
Do you charge with taking the equity, or do you also charge like for consultation, like you have packages?
Can be both. It just depends on the situation, the stage of the company, where they're at. But usually in the beginning, just have a couple chats with them and see if it's a fit, because it's a mutual thing. I end up working with these people for a long time. And
where people usually approach you? Like, I think so many people need some like somebody like you could maybe invest and the money and the like mind. So how, or do you find the clients, or usually they come to you?
They come to me.
Yes.
So like a handful of different venture funds will refer them to me, and I don't know, people just know me as that, I guess, through my network. And I think I'm kind of changing that a little bit. We talked about this a bit, but I'm like, I have been doing one-to-one mostly. You know, I work like me and the CEO, founder, and I'm gonna start doing some courses instead too, and like group coaching, so in a bigger format, so I can do more one-to-many instead. But
yeah. And what kind of courses do you want to create? It's very specific, or some just broad, like how to run the business?
No, specific. I've been thinking. I mean, I'd like your perspective on this, since you talk with lots of people, but about how to get unstuck and level up your life, because that's really like a big area where people they're working on their thing, and they have something, and they know they have something, and they're trying to figure out, but they can't really like break through to get it, you know, from making 100,000 a month to $1 million a month. There's something like that breakthrough where they need to push through some ceiling, which oftentimes is mostly them. It's usually not the company itself. There might be some specific things that need to be done, like in marketing or sales or product or things, but for the most part, usually it's mindset stuff. So I like working through that with people and helping motivate them. You know, that's rewarding for me, and maybe to see things differently. You know, when you're not emotionally attached to thing like your child, you can see things, the forest through the trees.
So you are maybe like you're mentioning that maybe what they're so emotionally attached, it's one of the problem what they have, but they can't scale. They're too afraid what they lose control or something.
Could be. I mean, that could be one of the elements. I just mean sometimes it's hard to see objectively, you know, what's going on when you're emotionally attached to something, because you delude yourself into thinking, oh, I'm doing this best thing. It's the best thing, you know, since sliced bread, when in reality, maybe it is, maybe it's not, you know, and only like different outside perspectives can see that, you know, from people that have been there, done that.
And do you think that the group coaching can help to understand? Because I think when you work with one-on-one, you understand, you can maybe create some, I don't know how you work, like questionnaire, what they did, what they don't do. When they hire, maybe they don't, maybe team is not working, or what the issues they are.
Everything. I mean, I've had late night phone calls about, you know, needing like a mental health day to like, oh my God, I just closed a bunch of money from investors, and wow, this is crazy, and it was so hard, and now I'm going to take a vacation to Costa Rica because of it, or whatever it might be. And I think the group coaching dynamic, and why a lot of coaches have moved in that direction, it's more scalable for them, but also you get mind share too. So it's not just like me talking about, okay, hey, what's going on? And that can happen also. But now you have 10 or 12 other really smart entrepreneurs who maybe are a little further than you, a little more behind than you, and they all have their own like unique life journey and perspective to things. And so now you get a lot of really smart people looking at what you're doing, and not just you. So I think that element to it, and you being able to help them, because it's like a group format. So it's not like everybody just helping you. You're also helping some other people and being of service. And I think that's one of the ways we can learn, is by being a teacher as well. And
do you have a target audience for people? Maybe somebody who runs a business for 5 years who make $100,000, or could be anybody?
It's not anybody. I mean, for sure right now, I don't work with like brand new entrepreneurs just with a brand new idea, because I'm way too much horsepower for them, you know. They need to have something there ready, like, you know, a company that's generating money, or they have a product, or are soon to have a product in the market. And yeah, yeah. I would just say like not brand new ideas and there are places for those. There are like incubator, startup incubator places that they can go, or lots of like local programs that work with people like that. Score Mentorship is one that's free. You can go. They have it in Southern California. You just go on their site and like, oh, I want to talk to this kind of guy. They're retired people mostly that just want to help out and give back. But generally speaking, I prefer high growth startups for the most part, which means they move really fast and they're complicated, and or they could be something that's under marketed. Maybe as another example, they're trying to find like product market fit. Who is your ideal customer and how do you scale that?
Yeah. I see. How you would say, how much percentage is a mindset and what's the percentage of the knowledge to have successful business?
Questions. Making me think.
It's the interview.
I mean, it's percentage. It's both for sure. But it's also luck and timing and all these other things, also.
But it's like 50-50 or like 70-30 or 80-20, like mindset is more, mindset is less. Maybe you need the knowledge more.
Mindset is more for sure. Like the weighted teeter-totter, maybe I would say like 70% mindset, 30. I mean, knowledge is important also, but like if you can't get out of your own way, I know somebody who is a very smart entrepreneur, but they cannot get out of their own way because they are just stuck in like the paralysis of, lots of knowledge, but not actually applying that knowledge or having the right mindset to just move and keep moving and take risks and chances and things. A big piece of what I work with people on, because this has been part of my own journey also, and that clarifies your question about like what kind of entrepreneurs I work with, is spiritual entrepreneurs too. And so that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but basically somebody who's on their spiritual path and maybe they've done plant medicine, or maybe they haven't done plant medicine, or maybe they're trying to find like work-life balance and they want to make a bigger impact on the world and are more conscious entrepreneurs versus just like, I'm in this business to make a shit ton of money. And that's great also. But that's my like little niche that I like to be in because of my own spiritual awakening that I had.
Do you see but more and more people getting this spiritual awakening or understanding what something more, like some more meaning there is than just money?
Huge exploding thing happening all over the world right now. Huge. Even as a globe, I think we're Earth, we're collectively leveling up in our consciousness. But yeah, I mean, it's like, if you can take that perspective into business, it changes things, really changes things a lot.
How it changed? How the spiritual like awakening or knowledge change your perspective on business?
I'm laughing because of like your questions are making me think so much. It changed everything. It's like, it's hard to explain to, if I were to hear somebody else explain it to me when I didn't know about it, it would be difficult for it to like land with me. But basically, at least in my experience, everything has changed. Everything, the way that I look at the world, the way that I look at myself, the way that I look at other people, the way that I look at how I spend my day, everything is different. And in a more, I'm going to butcher this, but like in a more, like you question everything, like not in a bad way, question everything. Do you understand that? That maybe it's not making sense.
Yeah, just trying to find the truth more.
Yeah, and then also like, what is the truth?
Yes. Yes.
Like society says that's the truth.
Yeah.
Or religion says that's the truth. Or this person says that's the truth. But what is the truth? And then what's the truth of the truth? And you can keep going down that rabbit hole, and I think once you have like that as your baseline framework, then things just change, and for me, that has been like, I mentioned earlier about the spending more time on things that I really want to spend time on, as an example, as part of like a spiritual awakening. It's like, life is short. I want to make an impact on the world. I want to be of service of people, and I want to work on these kinds of things and not work on these kinds of things that are misaligned for me, or even were misaligned, or could even become misaligned. Like, I want to do less of that and do more of this. I spent most of my 20s and 30s doing lots of this over here, and I think for me personally, that was plant medicines and really having some psychedelic experiences that changed the course of my life, for sure. And for a lot of people, it's not for them, and that's okay too. And there's other things like breath work and all sorts of healthy modalities people can use that are a little less intense. But for me, I suffered from severe depression as an entrepreneur, and severe loneliness and severe unhappiness that I had to go on like a journey, to find myself and to find what I really wanted to be doing, and to find my gifts, and then give those gifts away to other people, and to help other people find that same, purpose and meaning and things. And that's what I feel most called to do now. When I mentioned about the group coaching thing, like these kinds of things.
Yeah. Do you have a spiritual teacher, or do you follow somebody? Did you find somebody who you can trust?
I mean, lots.
Okay.
Yes. Many, but I do have a spiritual mentor. Yes. And he's a very old, wise man.
Yeah. Because there's so many spiritual teachers who tell what they,
Yeah, everybody's drinking their own Kool-Aid, they're all selling their own snake oil of some kind,
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have spiritual?
I do have spiritual teacher. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How has it helped you?
Just understanding who I am, understanding how I operate, why I have, maybe I'm sad, or why I'm depressed, or I don't want to do something, like where it's coming from and how to change it, and how I can work on my emotions more. It's a lot about, for me, emotional intelligence of like why I am, again.
How has that changed your life, for the better or worse?
To be more confident, to be more calm, to not competing with the people, to like see people, to help people.
Inner peace. It gave you more inner peace.
Yes, just to, who I am, to be confident who I am. Yes.
Who are you?
Confident, structured, beautiful person.
Okay, I like that. Who's also imperfect, and sometimes not confident, and sometimes not structured, and sometimes not beautiful. And that's all of those things is what makes us whole.
Yes. And anything, just again, like all the negativity still shape you. Like if you don't like something, then like why you don't like it, or like why you don't want to do something, or why you don't like, why you're scared or something. Yes, it's again shapes you. Like, are you going to right path? You're not going to right path. Like what's kind of navigates you.
Which path are you on right now at this particular stage in your life?
I am still finding the truth, I would say. Finding myself, still looking, but I was doing it for so many years. But I think only after I found spiritual teacher, I really understood what it is of like who is a person, like why I'm here, like what's the meaning of life, kind of more.
What is that? What do you think that is?
Is to grow myself, to understand myself, to grow me as a person, to remove my ego. And just to be a kind, loving person. To have like this unconditional love to everybody.
Yeah, right. And to ourselves also.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
even with all of our mistakes we've made and the negative thoughts and all these things, like how do we just be pure love?
Yeah, just be grateful for everything, to be grateful a lot.
What kind of spiritual things have you done specifically, if you'd be open to sharing?
I didn't do anything like medicine type. I just do a lot of meditations, I would say. Meditation and journaling every day. I'm always creating the intention for a day, for today. Then I do the one situation, what happened in today, what brought me negative emotion. Yes, maybe something I looked in the Instagram and something came to me, or my husband told me, and something difficult situation, like something what triggered me some negative emotions. I analyzed why it is, and so what I can do next time. And at the end of the day, I do a retrospective of the day. It's a way to analyze what I did good for other people, what I did good for myself, what I did bad, and how I can change it next time.
That takes a lot of discipline to do that.
Yeah, but you see the results. You see the results of like how, if before I was very scared and not confident, and I was scared of the people, working every day to understanding what's happening, why I'm scared of, like, again, and changing. You can see like this is so beneficial. You can see the growth. It's just like, it's amazing.
You're creating a feedback loop for yourself.
Yes.
This happened. Okay, I can learn and then try it like this, and then like iterating.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And what's next time? What kind of qualities I need to do next time? Maybe I need to be friendly. Friendly doesn't work for me. Be simple. Yes. Like the simple, like, trail works for me. It just see what works for you, like how you interact, more understanding your patterns. You're like, a lot of is working on your virtues, kind of a lot of working on virtues.
I'm writing that down. I like that. Working on your virtues.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And see, if you're not very friendly, work to be friendly. If you're not very confident, work on your confidence. If you're not very structured, work on your structure. If you're not like very disciplined, you work on your discipline for a month. Yeah. Maybe if you're not very calm, work on your calmness for a month.
Like building a muscle.
Yes. Exactly. And changing your mindset pattern of like how you think.
Yeah.
Habits.
I've been doing that lately also with like the way I look at things, For example, in the past, I was really good at catastrophizing things in my head, so thinking of like worst case scenario about, could be anything, doesn't even matter, something like really, and our brains, all of our humans, our brains default to like, trying to figure all that out. Right. And so I'm like, well, what would my life be like if I, whatever the word is, to positive catastrophize about things, like when this seemingly bad things happen, like, wow, like maybe this will allow me to finally do this, or, oh man, now I'll get to like try this thing or whatever that is. And I'm trying to like shift my brain from this like negative bias to this like, for sure, is at more of a neutral now, or even to like a potentially like positive bias, even with bad things. And some of the happiest people that I've met, maybe not even just happy, but some of the most fulfilled people that I have met have the ability to just like, they're through that, not optimism, it's not like blind faith, but through like the lens of resilience and through the lens of maybe something good will come out of this. I don't know exactly what. This seems really bad. Somebody just died. This is a very, hurtful thing, and this is not good, but, I don't know, one less Christmas gift to give or something like that. That's a bad example, but you get the gist of like some positive things that can come out of that also. And or maybe I'll finally have time to speak with them. The way that I've always wanted to speak with them, like in the spirit world instead of with them in person, and I wasn't able to talk with them like that or something. Right. Yeah.
My teacher teach us how to change your state in 2 seconds. So for example, you are Like you have anxiety, you have like not depression, but still can be depression too. Not medical depression, but like you're like different. If you're like doctor told like you don't have really depression yet, or you have like you're just lazy, or you are, I don't know, scared, you can change your state in 2 seconds.
How? Teach me how.
It's more conversation. You need to like, it's a longer conversation how to do it, but it's possible.
Okay.
It's working with yourself.
I have seen some crazy things in my life, so I believe it for sure. And I know Tony Robbins does that all the time. It's like his whole thing is like state control.
Yeah, but it's not anything. You don't need to take any pills. It's like you just do, like you just make action. And
we're this crazy intelligent super computer, you know, our bodies so advanced.
Yeah. Yes.
And we have to learn these like hacks that we are normally not taught in childhood or in young adulthood or
and
society doesn't want us to know these things either, because that means now we can like, you know,
control us more
and happier. And now we're not controlled by the masses and things.
Yeah. And another last thing is what we have material world. It's like what you see, like also items, material world. And you have this spiritual world. And material world is 1% and spiritual world is 99%. It's like there's so much more, but we can't even imagine what there is. And we think that all these cars, Lamborghinis or something, like it's so cool, but they're like so much more like just happiness there if you are connected to it. Yes.
Yeah. Think of how many people are not connected to that at all.
Don't even imagine what they could.
They're in the matrix still. They're just, you know, and I feel very sad for them. And I was one of them also, admittedly also, you know, until I was about 38, 37, 38.
So what led you to try spirituality?
I mean, I was always kind of interested in that stuff, you know, and I was raised religious. But then I was always reading spiritual books and things, but then I tried mushrooms for the first time. That's what happened. And I was like, wow, I have so many more answers, but so many more questions. And that was like the direction change in my life, you know. Then that led to like lots of other learning new things and health related things and the things that I like to consume as far as information now and this spiritual awakening. But yeah, I definitely am a very different person today than I was a year ago or 5 years ago or 20 years ago when I was a little entrepreneur growing up in the country, having a landscaping company, to then moving to California, starting a tech company and traveling all over the world. And
So what kind of advice, I think you maybe already gave some advice, but again, like some advice for to be successful business owner, like learn spirituality. Find your purpose.
Man, wow. It's like, no, it's a good question. There was this guy that I knew, I guess he was like kind of a quasi mentor of mine. Older guy, he has since died. But he was always talking about like, what's your out number, right? In like business lingo, that means like, what is the number that you make enough money where you're like, I'm done, right? And this was before, I mean, maybe he was telling me this in like my 20s, mid to late 20s or something like that. And it stuck with me because it's not really like for me now, what is my out number? It's what is success for me today, you know? And that the success for me 5 years ago, 10 years ago was money and nice cars and girls and all the societal bullshit, which I had and didn't have over the ups and downs. But success for me today is defined very different, you know? And I think that time spent defining what success is for you or the person listening to this
Mm-hmm.
is important to know what that is, because that helps guide you in the direction you're going to go. It's like having Google Maps, like if you don't have it, you can get to where you're going to go, kind of like feeling the road or looking at the signs. But if you have Google Maps, you're going to get like exactly there. So if success for somebody is to have an au pair at their house to watch their kids so that she can go hang out with her girlfriends during the day and come home at night and not have to have the stress of watching kids all day long. And that means it takes whatever the dollar amount is, $2,000 a month. And maybe that is enough of like success for that person today, and that can change a month from now or a year from now, but today. Because I was always like, I need to do this huge thing, like, I won't be successful until I do this huge thing. And then once I reach that thing, which I have reached those things a few times, then I will be, like successful, but it's not. And turns out that actually money was not like the driver for me. There are other things that are drivers, like having freedom, as an example, or just being able to eat really healthy foods, or to spend time with my friends, or to sleep in if I want to sleep in, or wake up early if I want to wake up early, or watching the impact of other people as an example of the work that I do with others and watch them get excited about stuff. Oftentimes, at least for me in my personal journey right now, is more rewarding than, even my own things. And does that answer your question?
Yes. And the last one will be, so for my listeners, would you like them to maybe contact you if they want to work with you? If yes, then like how they can contact you and what you can help them with a business, maybe if they're interested in the business, like coaching groups.
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Your Instagram?
At Matthew Crowe, MatthewCrowe.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Matt, for the conversation.
Yeah, this is great.